Modern war looks slow, advances stall, front lines harden instead of collapsing, armies dig trenches, fortify positions, and fight for meters instead of miles. Casualties accumulate without decisive breakthroughs, and to outside observers, it often looks like failure, hesitation, or incompetence. In reality, what we are seeing is not weakness, but adaptation. Warfare has changed, and the conditions that once allowed rapid armored breakthroughs no longer exist in most modern conflicts. The age of Blitzkrieg did not end because militaries forgot how to maneuver. It ended because the battlefield itself changed. Defense in depth is no longer an emergency measure or a temporary response to weakness. It has become the dominant framework through which modern wars are planned, fought, and sustained. It shapes how armies deploy, how they move, how they attack, and most importantly, how they survive. Blitzkrieg worked in a world where information moved slowly, where defenses were thin, and where a single rupture could unravel an entire front. In that environment, speed created shock, shock created collapse, and collapse created victory. Modern battlefields do not allow that chain reaction to occur easily anymore. The modern battlefield is transparent. Satellites observe movements in near real time. Drones watch roads, forests, and assembly areas continuously. Signals intelligence intercepts communications. Even civilian technology contributes to battlefield awareness. A large formation attempting to mass for an attack is often detected long before it reaches the front line. Surprise, once the foundation of maneuver warfare, has become increasingly difficult to achieve. This transparency fundamentally favors the defender. When you can see an attack forming, you can prepare for it. You can reinforce threatened sectors. You can pre-register fires. You can shape the terrain. The attacker, by contrast, must expose themselves to move, must concentrate forces to break through, and must accept losses simply to begin the operation. Defense in depth exploits this reality. Instead of relying on a single line to stop an attack, it creates multiple layers of resistance. Each layer is designed not necessarily to hold forever, but to slow, disrupt, and degrade the attacker. Mines force vehicles into predictable routes. Obstacles canalize movement. Artillery targets concentrations. Drones guide fires. Infantry holds key terrain long enough to impose cost before falling back to the next position. The goal is not immediate victory. The goal is exhaustion. Modern offensives fail not because they lack bravery or equipment, but because they cannot sustain momentum under constant observation and fire. Every advance costs fuel, ammunition, vehicles, and trained personnel. Every kilometer gains stretches logistics. Every pause allows the defender to reconstitute, reposition, and prepare the next layer of resistance. This is why modern wars often become wars of endurance. The side that can absorb losses, replace equipment, and maintain logistics longer gains the advantage. Speed still matters, but only within the limits imposed by visibility, precision fires, and layered defenses. Defense in depth also reflects a shift in how militaries think about terrain. Terrain is no longer just ground to be captured or crossed. It is something to be shaped. Fields are mined, roads are cratered, urban areas are fortified, natural obstacles are reinforced. The battlefield becomes an engineered environment designed to punish movement and reward preparation. In earlier eras, tanks could exploit breakthroughs because there was often nothing behind the front line to stop them. Modern defenses assume penetration will occur and are designed to respond to it. Reserve units, mobile fires, and secondary defensive belts exist specifically to counter breakthroughs. An attacker who punches through one layer often finds themselves exposed, targeted, and cut off rather than liberated into open maneuver space. This has profound implications for armored warfare. Tanks remain powerful tools, but they are no longer independent instruments of decision. They operate as part of a combined system that includes infantry, engineers, air defense, electronic warfare, and logistics. Without those elements, armor becomes vulnerable rather than decisive. Defense in depth also exploits time. Every delay benefits the defender. Each day an offensive stalls allows reinforcements to arrive, supplies to be replenished, and international support to materialize. Time, once the enemy of the defender, has become an ally. This is why modern conflicts often look static even when they are strategically dynamic. The front line may not move much, but behind it, logistics networks, production capacity, intelligence collection, and political will are constantly being tested. Victory emerges not from a single dramatic breakthrough, but from sustained pressure over months or years. Defense in depth is not passive, it is active, adaptive, and lethal. It relies on constant reconnaissance, flexible command and control, and the ability to trade space for time without losing coherence. When executed properly, it turns the attacker's strength into vulnerability. Modern militaries study this not because they want stalemate, but because they recognize reality. Against a peer or near-peer adversary, rapid collapse is unlikely. Survival depends on resilience. Success depends on endurance. This is why modern doctrine emphasizes layered defenses, integrated fires, and protection of logistics as much as maneuver. It is why offensives are increasingly limited in scope and objectives. It is why wars are decided by production, sustainment, and political resolve rather than dramatic battlefield maneuvers alone. Defense in depth is not the abandonment of offense. It is the recognition that offense must be prepared, protected, and sustained in an environment where the defender sees almost everything. And that reality defines modern warfare. As defense in depth has become more dominant, it has also reshaped how militaries think about risk. In earlier eras, commanders could gamble on speed and surprise, accepting losses in exchange for decisive outcomes. Today, that kind of gamble is far more dangerous. Precision weapons, persistent surveillance, and long-range fires punish concentration and movement. A failed breakthrough can cost an army not just momentum, but entire brigades. This has led to a more deliberate style of warfare. Modern commanders often prioritize preserving combat power over seizing ground quickly. That does not mean they lack aggression. It means they understand that once forces are destroyed, they cannot be easily replaced. Defense in depth amplifies this logic by making every offensive action expensive and uncertain. One of the most important elements of defense in depth is the integration of fires. Artillery, rockets, missiles, and drones are layered across the depth of the battlefield. Rather than waiting for the enemy to reach a single line, fires are used continuously to disrupt movement, target logistics, and degrade morale. This constant pressure wears down attacking forces long before they reach decisive objectives. The role of artillery has expanded dramatically. In many modern conflicts, artillery causes the majority of casualties. It is not glamorous, but it is relentless. Defense in depth allows artillery to operate with maximum efficiency by forcing attackers into predictable routes and exposed positions. Mines slow movement. Obstacles canalize vehicles. Drones identify targets. Artillery delivers the blow. This is why modern offensives often appear methodical and slow. Clearing minefields, suppressing artillery, and protecting engineers takes time. Every step forward requires coordination and protection. Rushing the process invites disaster. Defense in depth also changes how air power is used. In earlier wars, air superiority could enable rapid breakthroughs by suppressing enemy defenses. Today, layered air defenses complicate that picture. Surface-to-air missiles, electronic warfare, and dispersed forces make it difficult to achieve uncontested control of the air. Aircraft must operate cautiously, often at standoff ranges, which limits their ability to directly support fast-moving ground forces. As a result, air power is increasingly focused on shaping the battlefield rather than enabling immediate exploitation. Strikes target logistics hubs, command centers, and infrastructure deep behind the front lines. This supports defense in depth by weakening the attacker's ability to sustain operations over time, rather than clearing the way for a sudden breakthrough. Another critical aspect of defense in depth is the use of reserves. Defenders do not commit all their forces to the front line. Instead, they hold mobile units back, ready to respond to penetrations or exploit enemy overextension. These reserves give the defender flexibility and resilience. An attacker who breaks through one layer may find themselves counterattacked from multiple directions. This dynamic creates a constant dilemma for the attacker. Commit too many forces to the initial assault, and you risk being vulnerable elsewhere. Hold forces back, and the attack may lack the strength needed to break through. Defense in depth thrives on this tension. Logistics play an increasingly central role in this equation. Modern armies consume enormous amounts of fuel, ammunition, and spare parts. Defense in depth targets these lifelines. Supply convoys are attacked, depots are struck, infrastructure is degraded. Even if frontline units survive, their ability to fight diminishes as supplies dry up. This is why modern wars often hinge on logistics rather than tactics alone. An army that cannot sustain itself cannot exploit success, even if it achieves a breakthrough. Defense in depth ensures that sustainment is always under threat. The psychological impact of defense in depth should not be underestimated. Attacking forces face constant danger, even when not in direct contact with the enemy. Drones hover overhead, artillery strikes unpredictably, mines lurk beneath the surface. This persistent stress degrades morale and decision-making over time. Defenders, by contrast, often enjoy higher morale because they fight from prepared positions and operate within a coherent defensive framework. Even when forced to withdraw, they do so according to plan, falling back to the next layer rather than collapsing entirely. Urban terrain amplifies these dynamics. Cities naturally favor the defender. Streets channel movement. Buildings provide cover and concealment. Defense in depth turns urban areas into layered fortresses. Attacking forces must clear buildings one by one, often under fire from multiple directions. Progress is slow and costly. Modern militaries recognize this and plan accordingly. Urban defense is no longer improvised. It is engineered in advance, with fallback positions, supply caches, and communication networks. Defense in depth allows defenders to trade ground without losing cohesion. Technology continues to reinforce these trends. Autonomous systems, improved sensors, and long-range precision weapons all favor the defender. As detection becomes easier and strikes become more accurate, the cost of movement increases. Defense in depth leverages this by forcing attackers to move repeatedly through hostile environments. This does not mean offense is impossible. It means offense requires far greater preparation, coordination, and resources than in the past. Successful offensives increasingly depend on degrading the defender's ability to see, communicate, and coordinate. Electronic warfare, cyber operations, and deception play critical roles in creating temporary windows of opportunity. Even then, those windows are often narrow and fleeting. Defense in depth is designed to recover quickly, restoring coherence before the attacker can exploit success. This resilience is one of its greatest strengths. Modern doctrine reflects these realities. Military planners emphasize layered defenses, redundancy, and adaptability. Units are trained to operate under constant observation and fire. Command structures are decentralized to survive disruption. Defense in depth is not just a tactic, it is a mindset. This mindset extends beyond the battlefield. Nations invest in industrial capacity, stockpiles, and mobilization systems. They plan for long wars rather than short campaigns. Defense in depth at the strategic level means ensuring that the nation itself can endure sustained conflict. The return of large-scale conventional warfare has reinforced these lessons. Conflicts between well-armed opponents have shown that rapid victory is rare. Instead, wars are decided by who can adapt, endure, and sustain pressure over time. Defense in depth embodies that reality. It accepts that losses will occur, that ground may be temporarily lost, and that victory may take time. In exchange, it offers survival and the eventual exhaustion of the enemy. As long as battlefields remain transparent and precision fires remain dominant, defense in depth will continue to shape how wars are fought. Speed alone will not be enough. Maneuver alone will not be decisive. Success will belong to those who can absorb punishment, maintain cohesion, and outlast their opponent. And that is why defense in depth is not replacing blitzkrieg by choice. It is replacing it because modern war demands it.